This year is a special year for international humanitarian law, as it marks the 70th year anniversary of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. We are therefore privileged and honored that for this particular year, Samoa is able to co-host with the International Committee of the Red Cross the second Pacific Island Roundtable on international humanitarian law. We commend the ICRC, particularly its regional delegation based in Suva, Fiji, for the wisdom to recognize the need for this forum and the initiative to make it possible. We also take this time to acknowledge the Government of Switzerland, the birthplace and home of the ICRC, as well as the Commonwealth Secretariat for their continued support for the work of the ICRC and the advancement of IHL. Globally, respect for IHL is constantly under threat, with shocking violations of IHL in modern and recent times. One of the reasons why IHL does not receive the respect it ought to is due in part to the fact that its victories are not well known to the public. For instance, children receiving necessary food and medicine during armed conflict, and the detainees who are able to contact their families, just to name a few. What those victories demonstrate is that respect and observance of IHL bring about positive changes. In the Pacific region, IHL faces its own unique challenges. The question of whether IHL is relevant in a region such as ours, which is small and where armed conflict is almost non-existent. Such observation is fair and warrants a meaningful reply. In addition, there is also the question of what the role of Pacific Islands is, or whether there is a role in the implementation of IHL. From the collective experiences of our respective island nations, the answer has been a resounding yes. IHL is relevant to the Pacific Islands, and we have a role to play in ensuring that IHL is respected in our region, but also in the global arena. This conclusion was mirrored in the outcome of the first Pacific Island Roundtable in Nadi, Fiji in 2017, the success of which the present Roundtable hopes to build upon. In recent times, some of our Pacific Island nations faced internal conflicts by way of tribal rivalry and warring internal factions. As such, understanding and implementing IHL in our respective jurisdiction is crucial to limiting the effects of such conflicts on our respective population and infrastructure. Also, some of our Pacific Island nations, including Samoa, send their police officers and military personnel to serve in peacekeeping missions in areas where armed conflict takes place. It is important that our citizens involved in those missions understand IHL, as they will be called upon to apply IHL in those areas. As Pacific Island nations, reinforcing and supporting international legal frameworks is beneficial, as it ensures that when we wish to raise issues internationally, there is a framework for us to bring those issues for discussion. IHL is important as it provides a legal framework aimed at limiting the effects of armed conflict, not only in our local jurisdiction, but also globally. I encourage you all that your discussions in the next 2 days be focused on strengthening the IHL framework and consider ways that it could be properly implemented in our respective jurisdictions, taking into account our unique domestic circumstances. This roundtable also creates a dedicated forum to fine-tune our perspective on issues regarding IHL that is unique to Pacific Islands. In one of your sessions, you will discuss an issue that is pertinent to Pacific Island nations, that of climate change. As you know, climate change is the most pressing threat to the human race, and the Pacific Island nations are at the forefront of experiencing the immediate negative effects of climate change. You will discuss the effects of climate change on armed conflict, which is relevant to us. In this roundtable, it is Samoa's hope that Pacific Islands represented here today have the opportunity to assess their respective IHL obligations and consider whether they have properly implemented them, and if they have not, consider ways that they can move forward. In addition, it is our hope that this meeting creates an opportunity for Pacific Islands to take stock of IHL conventions and treaties that they have not signed up to, and determine whether they should sign and ratify the said conventions or treaties. Domestically, the exercise can be properly facilitated through a dedicated IHL body, such as a national IHL committee. Samoa has its own national IHL committee, which was established in 2007. One of its many achievements includes the domestication of the 4 Geneva Conventions through the coming into force of the Geneva Convention Act of 2015. Further, we have signed the Arms Trade Treaty in 2014 and the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons in 2018. From Samoa's experience, it helps to have a dedicated IHL body, such as a National IHL Committee. And we would encourage countries that do not have these dedicated bodies to consider establishing one. The 70th anniversary of the Geneva Conventions gives Samoa the impetus to renew its commitment to the implementation of IHL in Samoa and our Pacific region. Our first priority is to reinvigorate our National IHL Committee to ensure that it stays atop of IHL issues. Chief amongst them is improving the respect for IHL. I ask each Pacific Island present here today to consider making the same commitment. I wish you a fruitful and meaningful discussions in this meeting, and without further ado, I hereby declare this meeting officially open. Vaftai.